This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत झूमेगा भारत.
Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal, welcome and adab. You are listening to Bharat FM, a one-of-its-kind, multilingual, eclectic provider of entertainment, information and news to Indian Americans. Headquartered in Cincinnati, Ohio, Bharat FM airs shows out of Cincinnati, Chicago and Phoenix. We take pleasure in our ability to cater to your bhakti, chusti, sphurti, shakti and masti needs with our audio and visual shows. Check out bharatfm.com for our online program schedule and archives. I'm sure the content will definitely tickle your senses. Tune in via the 24-hour web streaming on bharatfm.com or via the Bharat FM app. More information can be procured at 513-488-5070.
Hello and namaste to everybody. Welcome to a special conversation today. Our Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji visited United States for the seventh time just recently. To have a conversation about this visit, we have with us today our dear Dr. Bharat Barai, who is a well-known leader in the Indian community here in the United States and a very close friend of PM Modi ji. So please join me in welcoming Dr. Barai to this conversation.
Thank you for having me, Vijaya.
Thank you, Dr. Barai, for taking time to speak to us today. We are really honored to welcome you back here. So I would like to begin by saying that Prime Minister Modi ji was received very warmly and he visited at the invitation of our current president, Joe Biden. And this 3-day visit just seemed to be packed schedule for him, where he was having multiple meetings at Washington, D.C. and New York. And also he addressed the United Nations General Assembly. He had the Quad meeting with Japan and Australian prime ministers. And we also noticed how the Indian diaspora here was so eager to welcome him at the airport. It was pouring, but still there were so many people waiting to receive their beloved prime minister. So what I would like to know from you, Dr. Barai, how successful do you think was this visit? And how significant was it for our Indian American diaspora here?
Vijaya, as you know, Prime Minister Modi has become, quote unquote, rock star fellow. These were the words of Secretary of State John Kerry in 2014 and repeated by then President Obama. And it's not just in the United States. He has received similar very warm welcome both by the Indian diaspora as well as the leaders of those countries, whether it's Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, France, Germany, United Arab Emirates, Japan, you name it. This visit was important. There was a change in administration. He had good rapport with President Trump, but he needed to build rapport with President Biden. Now, he had met President Biden previously as vice president, and President Biden has been on the foreign policy scene for many, many years. In fact, he was also the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. That's when he supported the nuclear treaty between India and the United States. But as a president, this was important that the two largest democracies in the world, their leaders establish a good working relationship. Second thing, this became even more important after the developments in Afghanistan. United States was heavily involved in defeating the Taliban and then trying to set up a democratic administration. Unfortunately, the Afghan army could not fight the Taliban and surrendered. Now, India had invested almost $3 billion in different development projects in Afghanistan, including building the new parliament building and several dams and educational institutions. So this was as much a disappointment to India as it was to United States and frankly most of the countries in the world. So having that private conversation about Afghanistan and China was also important. I mean, China has been threatening us repeatedly. Recently, they are trying to put more troops in eastern part of the Ladakh. So, to try to have friendship of the superpower of the world, both in terms of intelligence sharing as well as procuring sophisticated military hardware so that we can successfully face off China. Pakistan is not a player except that it is playing monkey game all the time. Pakistan, of course, supported, recruited, trained, armed, and indoctrinated Taliban. So, really, Taliban is a product of Pakistan's foreign policy, and India had to take into account what this means to India's security interest. Fortunately, we do not share a direct border with Pakistan physically because the occupied Kashmir that borders with occupied Pakistan. Now, the other one was the Quad. The four large democracies, United States, India, Japan, and Australia, are very concerned about the freedom of navigation in the Pacific Ocean as well as South China Seas. That's where China is trying to threaten the small countries, trying to set up some artificial islands, trying to snatch away oil and other properties in this ocean. So the smaller countries, they do not have the ability to fight off China, whether it is Vietnam, Malaysia, Singapore, Philippines, or Indonesia. They all are concerned about China's what we call dadagiri. So Japan itself is not in a position to take on China. Yes, once upon a time in 1904, there was a battle and that was different. Australia is a relatively small country with population of 26 million. So they were not in a position to fight off China. Whether we like it or not, China is our neighbor, but we are also a large country, a country whose military is dedicated to saving Bharat Mata. And India has made a lot of strides in its military strength in last several years. We have been procuring sophisticated arms to try to match the Chinese arms buildup. So the main advantage with United States is procuring sophisticated hardware as well as intelligence sharing because USA has sophisticated satellites into the sky and they are able to share the intelligence with India along with India's own satellites. So this was an important visit for India's security, for security of the Pacific Ocean and in Indian Ocean in South China Sea, as well as having deliberations about Afghanistan. United Nations, some of the leaders were present in person and some joined by Zoom. Last year, the Prime Minister did not come personally, but this year he came personally and addressed the United Nations. So most of this visit was related to that. He also met the 5 CEOs of high-tech companies, obviously to try to build up better communications in India, better setting up those factories, setting up software. So he met only 5 CEOs on one-to-one basis. He met President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. He met the leaders of Japan and Australia and addressed the United Nations. This time, because of COVID, he avoided meeting more than all these people. So if you really look at it, he barely met about 10, 12 people. In New York, he did not meet anybody in person. He just addressed the United Nations Assembly and drove straight from United Nations to JFK Airport and took off for India. So there were no other engagements in New York.
So definitely COVID has added an additional challenge or barrier for this visit, but it does look like it was a very successful visit, especially what you just mentioned so far. So we are hoping that PM Modi will be able to visit us once again, and especially with the COVID situation right now, it is hard to probably predict when he will be back here. However, we do hope that we get past the COVID situation soon and he will be able to visit us again. And would you like to add something, Dr.
No,
Barai?
no.
Okay. So we can never forget the rockstar reception that you had arranged for PM Modi back in 2014 after he took office. So we are hoping that we will be able to receive him once again, and hopefully in the Midwest next time. So with your support, Dr. Barai, we really appreciate you taking this time today and joining us for a brief conversation about PM Modi's recent visit. Thank you once
Thank you
again.
very much, Vijaya. I want to say that the credit for the successful United Nations, 2014 Madison Square Garden visit goes to Prime Minister Modi himself. It was him who attracted all those crowds, and the Indian Americans living primarily in New York, New Jersey, but all over the country, who gave such a support. And I am to be grateful to them that they gave me the opportunity to lead this event.
Wonderful, Dr. Barai. Our best wishes are with PM Modi. We hope his, successful tenure continues in our beloved country, as well as his visit will happen again soon here. And thank you once again for joining us today. And thank you. We will see you again soon.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Our pleasure and our honor, Dr. Barai. Namaste.
Namaste.
So we hope you liked this special conversation that was brought to you by Bharat Media. Please do leave us a comment or feedback on our Facebook or YouTube video when you watch this. Let us know how you thought. And if you have any other special topics that you would like us to address, kindly let us know that as well. If you would like to be featured or you would like to have any other guests on our show, kindly message us. You can see our WhatsApp number or our cell number on the screen, and we are also available to you through Facebook Messenger. So hope to see you all next time. Thank you once again for joining us for this brief special conversation today.
Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal, welcome and adab. You are listening to Bharat FM, a one-of-its-kind, multilingual, eclectic provider of entertainment, information and news to Indian Americans. Headquartered in Cincinnati, Ohio, Bharat FM airs shows out of Cincinnati, Chicago and Phoenix. We take pleasure in our ability to cater to your bhakti, chusti, sphurti, shakti and masti needs with our audio and visual shows. Check out bharatfm.com for our online program schedule and archives. I'm sure the content will definitely tickle your senses. Tune in via the 24-hour web streaming on bharatfm.com or via the Bharat FM app. More information can be procured at 513-488-5070.
This is Bharat FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.
ये है भारत FM.
बजेगा भारत, झूमेगा भारत.